Capstone Action Research. Finding out what mainstream classroom teachers know and utilize for assessment modification practices for their English language learners is what I want to know. I want to determine what effect will professional development on research-based assessment practices have on teachers and on English language learners. In doing this research, I hope to help mainstream classroom teachers modify assessments for this growing population of students. The rationale for this research came about because a student of mine had failed the first 9 weeks of school and were required to fill out documentation about the accommodations that we were providing in the classroom. Also, the modifications we were making to assessments. The only thing on this document was to read the assessment to the student, but I had been having the ESL teachers in my building modify my tests for me. Then there came a time when they couldn't do that, so I had to do it myself. So I'm wondering what other teachers of ELLs did when they couldn't have their tests modified. My literature review takeaways. English language learners are the fastest growing student population in the United States. In 2012-2013, there were 4.85 million ELLs attending public schools. In the last decade, there's been a 60% increase in this growing population. The general education population has not grown nearly as sharply, just a 7% increase. This comes from ELL's Fast Facts by Breeze from 2015. This was found in a bilingual website called Coloring in Colorado. In the McNeil Policy Brief of December 2005, Flynn and Hill describe in their article how ELLs are a growing population and tell of the growing evidence that teachers are not prepared to meet the needs of ELL students. Teachers they talked with had never participated in professional development designed to help them teach ELLs. Deborah Short wrote in her article, Training and Sustaining Effective Teachers of Sheltered Instruction, that with the number of growing ELL students, the training of pre-service teachers has lagged behind. As of 2009, only 6 states require coursework in English as a second language methods in their teacher training program. As a result, most mainstream classroom teachers are unprepared to teach English learners upon graduation. Sheltered instruction has been shown to be the instructional choice for many school districts because it is effective for teaching ELLs as well as the general education student. Short wrote in her article, Training and Sustaining Effective Teachers of Sheltered Instruction, that simple things such as talking more slowly, teaching academic vocabulary explicitly, include a lot of wait time, as well as working in cooperative learning groups is a great start. Hanson-Thomas wrote in Best Practices for ELLs in the Mainstream that more school districts are implementing sheltered instruction in their classrooms. Districts are seeing the benefits of the framework in mainstream content areas. Sheltered instruction is research-based, and students in classes with SIOP-trained teachers, that's Sheltered Instruction Observational Protocol, teachers outperformed those classes whose teachers were not trained. Hanson-Thomas believes that staff development is the key to success of English language learners. Another takeaway is assessments need to be modified. Assessments are designed for native English speakers. Modifications and accommodations are in compliance with the law. Authors Ehlers, Zavala, Daniel, Sun, Erminger, and Linsky believe that assessment is a large part of literacy instruction. It is important for classroom teachers to know how to assess English language learners. The authors agree that many teachers are unprepared to modify assessments for English language learners. English learners bring a wide variety of learning experiences with them. The authors give suggestions on how to modify assessments. Give English learners authentic learning activities with specific learning objectives. Assess in non-traditional ways. Use Venn diagrams, charts, drawings, and mind maps. Allow students to answer in multiple formats. Permit students to answer questions orally or write in their heritage language. Diane Fenner held a professional development for teachers. She showed teachers what a typical lesson would look like and feel like to an ELL student when she taught a geometry lesson totally in German. At first, she didn't offer any support. Then, as the lesson progressed, Fenner added visuals and then a bilingual dictionary. She had the teachers do an assignment totally in German. The idea of the lesson was to show teachers what an English language learner experiences on a daily basis. Educators need to work together to determine accommodations and assessment modifications for their ELL students. Methodology. The Action Research study took place in an urban intermediate school in northern Mississippi. The demographics of the school's population consists of 1,067 students in grades 3 through 5. The English as a second language student population is approximately 14% of the student body. There were 16 participants in the study. All are teachers. All teach English language learners in some capacity. The experience level of teachers ranged from 2 years to 35 years. There were 7 English language arts teachers and 6 math teachers. The other 3 teachers teach physical education, gifted and talented, and English as a second language. The participants were chosen because they teach English language learners in their classrooms, and they are the focus of this study. Procedure. 16 teachers participated in the study. They were given consent forms as well as the initial survey. Building ESL teachers were interviewed for input on teacher training as well as other general information. Teachers then attended a training session on modifying assessments for ELLs. They were given a final survey a few days later. 10 teachers and 1 assistant principal attended the final presentation to hear the outcome of the study. Okay, survey highlights. The first survey that I gave, I asked my respondents how knowledgeable they were in their ability to modify assessments for their ELLs. The middle line of Table 2 shows how 50% of the respondents were neutral, not necessarily agree or disagree in their ability, but 25% pretty much agreed and strongly agreed that they were capable of modifying their own assessments. I was able to then give participants a training on modifying assessments in their classrooms, and then gave them a survey later to determine if they were more confident in their abilities to modify their assessments. And you can see under the agree and strongly agree that about 81% now are feeling confident that they are able to modify their own assessments. Okay, more survey highlights. A survey question that I asked my respondents were, do you feel that you would attend professional development training on modifying assessments? And the first survey that I gave, about 68.8% either agreed or strongly agreed that they would attend or that they needed professional development on assessment modifications. And then the survey that I gave the second time around was slightly lower at 62.5% that agree or strongly agree that they would use or would attend professional development on modifying assessments. This to me shows that our teachers, more than half, are willing and want to know more to help our ELL students. I gave teachers extended response questions along with their surveys. One of them was, would you ask to teach ELL students again next year? Overwhelmingly, the teachers said yes. Some of their comments were, ELL students want to learn. These kids are well behaved. ELL students are very respectful. I love teaching ELL kids. Another one of the extended response questions that I asked teachers were, what's the biggest obstacle teaching ELLs? And the teachers came back with communicating with parents is their biggest obstacle. We have to wait for a translator, one of them said. Not being able to speak their language. Another responded with not knowing how to assess them. Hopefully during the assessment modification training that I gave, that addressed that particular teacher. Interviews with our ESL teachers. Again, I asked, what was your biggest obstacle about classroom teachers and their English language learners? And our ESL teachers said that, teachers aren't trained. I asked, what can our district do better to serve our English language learner population? And again, more training for classroom teachers, more ELL staff, create a newcomer program. I also asked, what assessment modification tips do you have? Teachers need to know their students' abilities and levels so that they can modify each test and assignment for each individual as needed. Assessments need to test the student's subject knowledge and not their knowledge of English. Our other ESL teacher had some things to say too about what the biggest obstacle she faces in with classroom teachers and English language learners. And again, many teachers lack training in working with EL students. More education programs need to have courses that provide specific strategies and techniques for meeting needs of ELL students. Modifying assessments and tests can be time-consuming for teachers, so that needs to be handled as well. This particular ESL teacher said modifying assessments and assignments for students based on their proficiency level. All of these things we've talked about, and all of these things I have found in my research. So it's interesting to me that I've seen it in the writing, and now I'm hearing it from the experts in our building. Findings. This is what I expected. I expected that all the teachers of ELLs would not be modifying their own assessments. Some really were. I expected teachers to not know they should be modifying their assessments, and most of them knew that they needed to. I expected that all teachers would want to know how to modify assessments. A lot of teachers don't have the extra time. This is what I found. I didn't expect to find that teacher preparation programs weren't including coursework in English as a second language. It's been quite a while since I did my undergraduate work. I didn't expect to find so many references to the fact that teachers were not prepared to teach ELLs. It was in almost all the articles that I read. I didn't expect to find that sheltered instruction would also be referenced quite often in my research, but it was. And that's one thing that I want to work on bringing to my district. Okay, so future research ideas. One of my ideas was about a newcomer program for our district. I want to find out what all that could entail. We have quite a few kids coming to our district that are first time in the country ELLs. Their families are, first time in the country, and they don't speak any English, and so I think that that might be a worthwhile idea to research. Another idea that I would like to research is mandatory sheltered instruction professional development for teachers of ELLs. It has shown in all the research that I've done that sheltered instruction has come up over and over again as the choice to help teachers of ELLs. And so I'm thinking that that's, a program that maybe should be brought to the attention of maybe my school district. Another research idea that I was thinking about was for pre-service teachers. Again, in my research, it came up over and over again how teachers were unprepared to teach ELL students. And I want to know, how would you go about changing the curriculum at these teaching institutions? It's got to be done. Also in the research, it says that ELLs are the largest growing population, and we need to be able to provide for them and to serve them. And to do that, we've got to get our teacher programs on board and get coursework for our pre-service teachers.